everyone. We are going to take a few minutes to look at the criteria for a proficient and masterful MLG syllabus. So these are for the secondary teachers, grades 6 to 12. There are 6 proficiency criteria for the MLG syllabus, and those include to employ parent and student-friendly language throughout. It will list approximately 10 learning targets that will become the categories in the gradebook, or there is reference to those learning targets and where they can be accessed, for example, in Schoology. Explains the rationale for the shift from traditional grading to mastery grading. Includes general mastery rubric to clarify each proficiency level. Clarifies how to determine a student's proficiency level in an individual learning target. And clearly explains how student proficiency in different learning targets will translate into their final grade. We are going to look at examples of each of the proficient criteria. So that first one is employ parent and student-friendly language throughout. Here we have an example where the teacher is communicating to their English 9 students about their course, and the language that is used is grade level appropriate as well as in alignment with academic language for the course. This is just one example. The second criteria lists approximately 10 learning targets that will become the categories in the gradebook. In this example, we've chosen to show that there can be more than 10 learning targets. There can also be fewer than 10. But in this particular example, what's notable is that the teacher has outlined that 3 standards or 3 learning targets are going to be considered throughout the entire year. And then the remaining 10 targets are content specific. How the teacher will address these learning targets per semester, we're not sure, but we know that they will be covering this content and that it is in alignment with the course's standards based on the way they are presenting the information. This is very important. Also, the learning targets themselves read like our recommended learning target language. So the statements are I can, and they are student-friendly statements that outline what the learning goals are for students. The third criteria explains the rationale for the shift from traditional grading to mastery grading. So how the teacher might be moving away from percentage-based grading, for example. In this example, the teacher has communicated this rationale as a narrative. And if you would like to pause the video to look at this in more detail, we invite you to do that. But throughout this explanation, the teacher mentions that there will be multiple opportunities on formative assessments for students to demonstrate growth. And overall, that feedback based on rubrics will communicate to students what they will need to know in order to demonstrate improvement. Also, the teacher mentions that mastery is determined holistically and not based on percentages or averages. The teacher mentions this explicitly and instead says that to support student success, grades will be aligned to the learning goals, and this will be done using rubrics, checklists, and scoring guides. In a separate and different example, the teacher has decided to address their rationale organized in a table, and they contrast what they might do traditionally or what they may have been doing previously to what their practice is like in mastery learning and grading. So for example, instead of averaging grades, the teacher will use the body of evidence to make grade determinations. Instead of offering extra credit assignments, the student will have multiple opportunities to demonstrate proficiency. The fourth criteria includes a general mastery rubric to clarify each proficiency level. In this example, the teacher has organized this information in a table, and their 4-point rubric is broken down as the level 3 demonstrating proficiency, with the level 4 being mastery, and the levels 2, 1, and 0 also outlining descriptions of those levels. The fifth criteria clarifies how to determine a student's proficiency level in an individual learning target. So in this example, the teacher has described how they will be determining proficiency levels for each learning target. This teacher says that, for example, if the student has scores of 2, 3, 3, 4, and 4 across 5 assessments, then the student's proficiency level might be a score of 4 because 4 is the most recent proficiency level. In this example, the teacher has decided to communicate their information again as a table. They explain that in order to demonstrate proficiency in each learning target, the student must submit work that reflects a level 3 or above. They will have multiple attempts to demonstrate growth in each learning target. And then they provide examples of what that might look like. The last proficiency criteria for the secondary syllabus says that the syllabus must include a clear explanation for how student proficiency in different learning targets will translate into their final grade. In this example, the teacher has communicated this information in the form of a table. The letter grades are in a column to the far left, and corresponding to each letter grade is a description of what the learning target proficiency levels might have to be in order to correspond to that letter grade. So for example, in order to earn a B in this teacher's class, the student must earn mostly 3s and nothing lower than a 2 across their learning targets. In this example, we want to highlight that the teacher has also organized this information as a table, but has also gone an extra step in providing clarification for each semester. Because the teacher anticipates that they will be teaching to a different number of learning targets each semester, they went ahead and they described what the letter grade A requirements might be for first semester and how that might be different for the second semester. So in the first semester, in order to earn the grade of A, the student must demonstrate level 4 on 5 or more of the 7 learning targets that semester. They cannot have anything lower than a 3. And this number changes for semester 2. It seems that the teacher is planning on covering more learning targets that second semester, and they've adjusted the description. In order for the syllabus to reflect masterful criteria, we will review some examples that will also demonstrate how this might be accomplished. There are 3 additional criteria in order to address the masterful level. And in order to submit a masterful syllabus, that syllabus must meet the proficiency criteria plus one of the following. Describe mastery learning instructional practices that will be implemented to support all students in achieving proficiency. Classroom rules, norms, or routines which align with MLG practices that develop a mindset for learning. Identifies how students' variables for learning are addressed during class time. We're going to look at some examples. The first masterful criteria that we will consider is how a teacher might describe mastery learning instructional practices. In this example, the teacher has a section in their syllabus, and that section is titled, How Will I Learn? In this section, the teacher has described that students are expected to work on activities and demonstrate growth towards mastery of learning targets. Homework will be given as ungraded practice, and the teacher goes ahead and explains why the homework is not graded. They give an example. Do basketball players in the NBA get assessed or graded on their practice? No. They are assessed based on their team's record of wins and losses. They practice to build skills. And so similarly, the student will practice for their summative assessment. In this separate example, the teacher makes it clear that the student will have multiple attempts or opportunities to demonstrate mastery. This is in alignment with mastery learning. This is a student-friendly description or communication of these elements of mastery learning. Another masterful criteria is classroom rules, norms, or routines which align with MLG practices that develop a mindset for learning are included. In this example, the teacher has created a section in their syllabus titled Growth Mindset versus a Fixed Mindset, and they go into the power of the concept of not yet. This is in complete alignment with MLG practice and developing a mindset for learning. In this example, the teacher has outlined their classroom rules and norms, and they also reflect direct alignment with MLG practice. Another criteria is that the teacher identifies how students' variables for learning are addressed during class time. In this example, the teacher has created a portion of the syllabus or has dedicated a section of the syllabus to touch on feedback and deliberate practice. Feedback and deliberate practice are part of the variables for learning, and the teacher goes ahead and explains that corrective feedback will also be used to enhance the learning experience. Students will receive multiple chances to demonstrate mastery of cognitive concepts, physical skills, and the affective domain. This is for a physical education course. Please feel free to go back into the video and review the criteria that was presented against your own product to ensure successful submission of your syllabus.